Blessed be the fruit. May the Lord open.
Praise be. Welcome back to Heroines. Today we're going to explore some special techniques for drawing unique faces using 3 inspiring and impressive characters from The Handmaid's Tale: Offred, Ofglen, and Moira. The Handmaid's Tale features women who are forced to wear the same full coverage robes as identification, which makes them the perfect subject for learning how to draw unique faces. Instead of giving them all the same cartoon face like you see a lot of Disney or anime characters slap on for female characters in particular, our drawing is going to focus on accentuating each woman's different features to celebrate their individual characteristics. Hulu's The Handmaid's Tale is adapted from Margaret Atwood's 1985 novel. It takes place in a dystopian society in which environmental disasters and dramatically decreased birth rates have caused a crisis all over the world. The handmaids are the last few fertile women left in the entire world, who are forced to serve as sex slaves for elite couples that have difficulty conceiving. So, to say the least, these are bleak dystopian times, and in order to regain their individualism, the handmaids must unite and rise against the cruelty that faces them. Basically, they're pissed off and tired of being treated like shit. To illustrate their anger and powerful unity, we're going to draw the 3 holding hands and standing together like they're about to kick some serious ass at Red Rover, or more accurately, like they make up the front row of an army in battle. Starting in the center is our leading lady, Offred, or better known before the misogynistic dystopia as June Osborne, a book editor, wife, and mother. She's our narrator and guide into the dark world of Gilead, who's assigned to be a handmaid in the house of Fred Waterford, also known as the Commander, who is one of the main establishers of Gilead. When drawing portraits or caricatures of people, it's important to identify their key face shapes: the head, eyes, nose, and the mouth. Once you learn to place these in their appropriate spots, you can create a portrait that well resembles the subject's likeness. The next step in caricature, though, is to exaggerate these features by playing with their relationship to each other using distance, angle, and size. Elizabeth Moss, who plays Offred, has a beautiful triangular face shape with prominent and defining features. No face is exactly symmetrical though, so it's important to study the noticeable differences and overemphasize them slightly. With Moss's face, you can see that her left eyelid is slightly heavier than her right, so we'll want to include that small detail by illustrating her left eye slightly smaller. Offred's expression needs to be one that screams, "Do not fuck with me," and she uses her eyebrows and mouth mostly to express this. Among the 3 women, her mouth is the only one that, even at rest, naturally angles downwards, so we can use that to our advantage by distorting it further into a more dramatic and angry frown. Moss's eyebrows are very straight with a sharp angle at the end, which can be intensified into an enraged expression by pushing the eyebrows and allowing the eyes to follow their same arc. These shapes can also be created by following the lines and angles of the mouth upward. So when we've finished, her eyes and brow angles should serve as a horizontal mirror to the angles of her frowning mouth. The rest of Offred's facial features can be brought out by paying attention to lighting. Elizabeth Moss has a large, bridged nose with the tip angling down slightly. To illustrate this from the front view, as if the light is coming from front and above, we can have her nose be the most highlighted feature on her face with contrasted skinny shadows on the side to demonstrate that it's risen away from her face quite a bit. After we pay some more attention to the angular shapes of her chin and jaw, we can move on to the details of the handmaid's red garments. These red gowns symbolize fertility, the blood of the menstrual cycle, childbirth, but do not forget that red is a color of power, which the handmaids begin to embrace as they gradually create an army that fights for their individual rights. In contrast, the wives dress in blue, so we're positioning our handmaid characters against a blue background to symbolize this relationship. Okay, next up is the fiery Moira, who is portrayed by the stunning and spectacular Samira Wiley. She has the roundest face of all 3 women, so we'll need to use more curved shapes and lines than the angular ones we used on Offred. She has more space between the eyes in relation to her face than Offred does, so we can strategically push her mouth lower so that the bottom lip almost touches her chin. Then we can pull her eyes further apart so they're almost touching the sides of her head. These adjustments will enhance the visual that her nose is fairly wide at both the bottom and the top as well. Moira is Offred's best friend from college and the only person she is reunited with in the new society after being separated from her husband and daughter. Moira serves as a voice of reason and is one of the most tenacious and rebellious of the handmaids. We're raising one of her eyebrows to imply suspicion and her lack of trust in the quote-unquote authority. In response, an authoritarian and theocratic establishment called Gilead takes over the US government and creates a new class system in society that has no separation between church and state. They take away women's rights to vote, have jobs, read, or do anything else that makes them an independent human. Women are also given unique titles that are Bible-y and based on their gender roles such as wife, handmaid, Martha, Aunt, Unwoman, Unbaby, or Gender Traitor. And coming in last, but certainly not least, is Ovglen, originally named Emily. She is portrayed by Alexis Bledel, who a lot of people are stuck remembering as Rory from Gilmore Girls. Similar to Rory Gilmore, Ovglen has soft features that look super sweet, but her character packs way more of a punch in The Handmaid's Tale. Since Ovglen is a lesbian, or what they call in Gilead, a gender traitor, she's practically a walking crime that must face incredible consequences for doing what is right and true to her. Different than Elizabeth Moss and Samira Wiley, Alexis Bledel has a face that is much smaller and consists of mostly squarish features which are concentrated lower on her head. We can push all of those features down to amplify her forehead a bit from the rest, creating room for those big and expressive cerulean blue eyes she is known for. Since both Moss and Bledel are white, we're going to heighten the reddish peach tones to make her skin color noticeably different. She also has a thin bridged nose, making her mouth appear wider in comparison to the rest of her face, so we want to make sure the mouth extends to line up with the center of her pupils. Then, by curving her eyebrows like sideways S's, we can convey Ovglen's recurring expression of uncertainty, but determination to fight for what she believes in, no matter what. Finally, by giving all three heroines the same shadow from their white bonnets and an eyeline that stares ferociously forward, we're telling the viewer that this group of women stand united and are determined to survive. So remember, when drawing caricatures, don't just slap some different hair color or different colored eyes onto the faces of your characters and call it good. Look for your subject's main defining facial characteristics: the head, eyes, nose, and mouth, and begin manipulating the distance, size, and angles of them to create an exaggerated portrait that's unique to them. And lastly, don't let the bastards grind you down.
No lead 8-day best artist, Carver and Durham, bitches.
Thank you so much for watching this video. Please tell us in the comments what you'd like to see next on Heroines. Make sure to like and subscribe to Gamma Ray on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, and check out more of our artist Mikel's art in the links below. We'll see you next week. Bye!